Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest. Fred Armisen.
Prince Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talkhouse podcast.
What's up? What is up? I'm Elia Einhorn. Welcome back to the Talkhouse podcast. This week I'm joined by...
the rather more muted Nick Dawson, editor-in-chief of Talkhouse Film. Where am I supposed to go from there?
I'll tell you where we're supposed to go. Right to this fucking amazing show. Nick, you pulled together a hell of a pairing. Harmony Korine in conversation with Caveh Zahedi. And I just want to say, observing this live was like watching something between a chess match and a joust.
I have to admit, when we're recording this, I was a little bit nervous, but listening afterwards, I was like, holy shit, this is so great.
Nick, did you ever do acid when you were a kid, like when you were younger?
Only really when I was very, very young.
Okay. Well, I was a wild teenager and took acid a number of times. And I had this sort of creeping feeling partway through this talk, like the acid was kicking in. Now, I didn't know if it was kicking in for Harmony or if it was kicking in for me, but things got very psychedelic. Now, Harmony has this sort of infamous way about him of sort of obfuscating when people try to pin him down with a precise question. But he went sort of so far out that I felt reality bend.
It's entirely appropriate because these two guys are people who mold reality to their own artistic ends. I mean, Harmony Korine, of course, is the genius behind Spring Breakers, Gummo, Julian, Donkey Boy, Mr. Lonely, Trash Humpers.
Ever heard of Kids?
Kids, which he wrote. Indeed. And for me, like as a kid growing up, like his book, A Crack Up at the Race Riots, was like a formative tome. It was a formative work in terms of like blowing my mind, making me know what could be possible with art.
Now, Harmony's just released his first project in 6 years. This is The Beach Bum. It has a hell of a cast.
Yeah.
Snoop Dogg.
Matthew McConaughey, Isla Fisher.
Jonah Hill.
Martin Lawrence, Jimmy Buffett, Zac Efron. But this movie is wild. It is crazy. It's about this cosmic poet in Florida just trying to live his best life and have fun and create chaos, and it's really something.
Dude. Listeners, I do want to give you a spoiler alert because the guys do talk about things that happen towards the end of the movie in this conversation.
But not in a way that I think is really going to
Doesn't ruin the film.
It's not going to harsh your vibe. And that is what we're here to do, is to not harsh your vibe. Now, for those people who don't know who Caveh Zahedi is, I think we need to give a little intro. Rather interestingly, he's in a way like Harmony's soul brother. He is also an Iranian-American. He has this childlike quality to him, this sort of innocence. And rather inevitably, he and Harmony used to be phone buddies back in the day.
Yes. Evidently, Harmony used to give him the old 3 o'clock in the morning call sometimes.
Indeed. Not the you up call.
Not the you up call.
No, the other one, like, you up, dude, kind of call. Now, Caveh is, he's kind of been this underground superstar genius. He's made movies like I Don't Hate Las Vegas Anymore, Tripping with Caveh, which had their mutual friend Will Oldham in it. I'm a Sex Addict, which was a film that introduced me to Caveh. And he has most recently been making waves with this really kind of mind-blowing web series called The Show About the Show.
Which is really a sort of meta mindfuck, where each episode is about the making of the previous episode.
Yeah.
Fantastic series.
Yeah, it's funny. I was chatting with Caveh just after we recorded this, and I was like, wait, Caveh, am I in season 2?
Oh, no. Were you filmed for it?
He filmed me at Sundance last year.
Oh, man.
Apparently it's going to be season 3, so you're just going to have to wait.
Okay, I'm psyched to see you.
However, let's not wait to talk about what they talk about.
Let's do it. They talk about a lot, Nick.
So much!
Of course, we hear all about the beach bum and the way in which it's, in some ways, kind of an autobiographical portrait.
There's a lot of Harmony's soul in the soul of Moondog, the poet played by Matthew McConaughey.
We also hear about those late night calls and the things that Caveh and Harmony had cooking for a while.
Yeah, it's funny because Caveh remembers a lot and Harmony remembers very, very little.
I don't necessarily believe him about that either.
That's what he says.
Yeah. One thing that I was really curious about that I was so glad Caveh inquired after was, what was Harmony doing for that almost decade away?
And he has a very Very good, if predictably unpredictable answer for that question. We get to hear about his amazing, colorful, and at times implausible life in Florida, which I feel like I kind of want to live myself now.
We hear all about how parenting is, quote, trippy as hell.
Trippy as hell, man.
We also hear about Harmony's amazing recipe for joy.
The awesome thing about Bob Dylan playing shows at minor league baseball grounds.
A lot about Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Yeah, which ties in perfectly with another subject they touch on, which is Hemingway's Six-Toed Cats.
And how Caveh's web series, the show about the show, kind of led to his divorce.
Yeah. Let's get into the good stuff, my friend. Let's roll the tape.
Let's do it.
So I don't know what you remember from our previous exchanges.
Right.
What do you remember?
I remember you made that like really cool film with your dad, right?
Yeah, I don't hate Las Vegas anymore.
No, the one where you're on acid or something.
Ecstasy.
Ecstasy. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah,
It was
yeah.
called I Don't Hate Las Vegas Anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so. I remember I was like, whoa.
Yeah, you liked it.
Yeah.
That's the only one you've seen, right?
I don't know. I would have to look at a list. I don't. Yeah.
But like, somebody got your number, and I called you, and I'd seen Gummo, and I just loved it to death. And then I sent you that film, and then you used to call me like often like at 2 or 3 in the morning.
Right.
If you remember any of this.
No.
I assumed you were like stoned.
Yeah.
In some sense.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to get this film made called I'm a Sex Addict.
Right.
Do you ever see that one?
I know. I don't remember.
You remember it. I think.
Yeah.
But I was trying to get you to act in it.
Oh, that I think. Yeah.
So I sent you the script.
Yeah.
I was trying to get Chloe to act in it also.
Right.
You gave me an address like in Connecticut.
Right.
And then like you disappeared.
Yeah.
And you sort of like turned me on to Will Oldham.
Yeah.
And also Alan Clark.
Yeah.
Which are both like I didn't know them.
Yeah,
but I,
yeah.
Hugely loved them
Yeah,
both. And I did this
yeah.
film with Will called Tripping with Caveh.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
You saw that one?
Yeah. I like that one.
And then I think I asked you if you wanted to do it, and then you were like, I don't do drugs anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably
Yeah. And,
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the new film, it's like full of drugs. So I was just curious, like,
Yeah.
are you still not doing any drugs?
No, I haven't done any in just so long.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, I can still remember them.
Yeah.
But not like I left that a while ago.
Yeah.
But the new movie, it's like a stoner.
Yeah.
It's like a stoner whirlwind.
Yeah. The thing that struck me watching, I watched it last night, was like, it just seems so like a self-portrait.
Yeah.
I guess all your films are.
Yeah, it's interesting because it's weird. Like, I get that too. It's like everyone's always like, "You're him," and "That's you," and they said that about almost every character. I remember they saying that about Alien and when in Spring Breakers and like
Right.
all these things. And I mean, maybe because I write them and stuff. And maybe there's certain things that are, maybe certain things, but I feel so also disconnect. Like my life's nothing like his life.
Right. Yeah, I don't mean externally.
But
But the internals of it feel like you're a spirit.
Yeah. That definitely. The internals. I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
The internals feel like your spirit. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, and also the whole struggle like between like fun and kind of an anti-moralist stance.
Yes.
And like, what do you do about capitalism?
Yes.
And and how do we deal with like the problem of navigating this world of corruption in a fun way that celebrates life?
Yes.
It's like, it seems like it's all very you.
Yeah. No, that part, and the idea of like his poetry, his writing or his poetry really is just, it's more about his life or more about him. He's like more of like a poet of life. Like it's about the fun and the joy and the moment, the experience.
Yeah, when he talks about fun in the film, it seemed kind of like the moment when I felt like it was like your voice most directly. Like it seemed like it was your like...
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's not really political. He's not really...
At all,
but it almost makes him political. People read into it in this way. This is interesting to me. But he really is, I think he's more of like a sensualist, I thought of it where it's like, if one joint feels good, he needs to smoke 10 of them. And I wanted to make a film about this guy who is like, he's kind of like based on this idea. For me, it's like almost this like strange utopian ideal, this Key West representative, like checkout culture, kind of fuck it all movement, where it's like, you know, people go to just kind of celebrate like a lack of ambition, and
that's not you.
no, but I admire that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I do like admire that. I like admire people who's like just like watch the sunset and live on houseboats, and you know, like I look at that and I find it desirable.
Yeah.
You know, but I also, you know, with him, it was like I thought it was interesting to create a character where it was like no matter what he had in front of him, no matter like how much money or how little money, whether he was living in mansions or under bridges or whatever, it was always going to be fun for him.
He was always the same. He was the same no matter what happened.
Yeah, he
him.
doesn't have a. I mean, people get upset because there's no, you know, conventional character arc or something. But
Right.
it's like I didn't think he would ever have what you would call, you know, or that kind of typical narrative character arc. I felt like he was always just going. You know, he was always like prowling.
Yeah, I mean, there was a kind of a character arc in that, like, there's this thing set up with the money, and that there's this sort of telos that there's going to be this money at the future, and that's going to maybe change something.
Yes.
And then he, you know, immediately, deliberately blows it all.
Yeah.
So in a way,
No, that's definitely, yeah. But the arc in that, like, people want to break him.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or have him be this kind of redemptive, you know, there's always this tendency for people to want immoral characters or people with a kind of moral ambiguity to like break.
Right.
And then like, you know, and so that's not a thing, that's not really a thing for him.
I mean, the form of that is the book that he writes.
Right.
Right? And there's almost this like notion that that would be some kind of moral uplift.
Yeah.
And he does it,
Yeah.
but it doesn't seem like it changes anything.
No.
Yeah.
It's nothing. Yeah, I mean, it's strange, you know, because he's like this guy who's, you hear the word genius thrown at him, and
Which is a word that's thrown at you a lot.
right. And then you hear this thing, but he doesn't really. I like the idea that he doesn't really. It's care about it, because you're so conditioned to like this idea of genius or like, you know, talent in this way where it's like that Mozart, that Francis Bacon, that thing where it's like you carry this like pressure to create
Or a responsibility.
and I like the idea of it being more of like a burden. Do you know what I mean? You're just like, it's like a guy, I was like saying, it's like someone who's like born, he's 7 foot tall, and all he has to do to dunk, everyone wants to see him dunk, all he has to do is just like stick his arm up, and he just doesn't want it, but he doesn't want to dunk.
Yeah.
You know, he just doesn't want to do it. I like that obstinance.
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of Rimbaud in a sense, or
Right.
the myth of Rimbaud.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I think intersects with your myth in a way.
Right.
Too.
Right.
But like the work there, like Rimbaud basically, I think, you know, is like, he's the most talented poet of all time.
Yeah.
At the youngest age.
Yeah.
And he just turns his back on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And in a way, the book that he's writing seems like, you know, you would say like the work, I mean, the film is like the book.
Yeah.
In that, you know, you're trying to make a work, and yet you have to find a way to do it that doesn't fall into the traps of ambition, the traps of ego, the traps of capitalism.
Yeah.
And does it in a celebratory way that doesn't turn away from the work either, the way Rimbaud does.
Sure, yeah. Or like, I prefer Rambo.
Right.
You know, like the way Rambo goes into the jungle, takes all those dudes down, and goes back.
Do you really prefer Rambo?
Oh, to Rambo? Of
Yeah.
course, definitely. I'll take Rambo every time.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Rambo, he was great. He was like misunderstood, I think.
I mean, I like that film. But
It would be good if you put Rambo voiceover over Rambo.
It would. There is a film to be made with that. I want to talk about, I mean, look, watching your career since kind of early on. I mean, I remember I was at the premiere of Kids in L.A.
Wow.
And I forget who the guy was at that company, but I knew this guy, and he invited me to this dinner afterwards.
Right.
And Chloe was there, and the kid from the show was there.
Right. Justin, maybe? Or
Yeah, I forget which one.
Right.
But it was like I went with some friends, and we were all like completely blown away by the movie, and it was just like this really amazing thing. And then Gummo, like even more so.
Yeah.
But like I just sort of watched you work through the system. And really my biggest curiosity as a person is just like, there's this sort of period, which is kind of like between the Connecticut address and Mr. Lonely, where you sort of disappear. And I've heard different stories and rumors. I have no idea what's true. You know, Will told me something. There was a house burned down. And you were in Paris. And there was like a drug problem.
Right.
I don't know. I know you usually tend to like to be playful around biography, but
it was like you know, I had like always liked to mow yards and stuff when I was a kid.
Mow yards?
You know, like cut down yards.
Oh.
Like I just really, when I was young, when I used to, my first job when I lived out in Tennessee was like to mow people's yards. And then I used to like, I was so good at mowing, you know, like I could go up on ditches and I can get it right at the edge. And then one day I was like mowing a yard and this like piece of gravel like smashed me in the right between my eyes.
From the lawnmower? Like
it got
hit
caught
it
in the thing and it's like when I wasn't never wear goggles. And so I stopped mowing yards. And you know, I got more into then movies. No, and then around that time that you're talking about, I know this is maybe sounds strange, but I really did like start fantasizing again about like going back to that type of thing, you know, because like I could like the more like I mowed a yard, like the more clean my mind felt. Do you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like the more, and I never did any type of meditating or anything, but like when I did that, like I felt like really, like I knew the job that was in front of me. You know, like I knew, like I just had to clear this yard, and then I can go like I can make like $10, and I can go like 2 yards over and clear that yard. So like I started to try to figure out in my own way how I could get back into the yard working business. You know what I mean?
This is after Julian Donkey Boy.
Yeah, it's that period that you're talking about, you know? And and so like, I went to Europe. I pretty much, I just stopped making film.
Right.
Because I just didn't really even know if I wanted to.
Which I would call the Rambo moment.
Yeah, the Rambo moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Stallone goes into the jungle. And I just kind of was like, you know, because I had been mostly making movies since I was even in high school. So I didn't really have what you would call like a transitional period, you know? And I wasn't really like I wasn't so amped on the idea of just making films. And like I wanted to do other things. And then I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do things that had to do with anything in the entertainment world. And so, but I really just wanted to like go off and mow yards or just like hang out. And so that's when I was like, that period, I pretty much was just tripping out. I, you know, lived in the jungle for a little while, was in Central America, went to Europe for a little bit. And then, it was probably almost 10 years, or not, 7 years or something like that.
Yeah, and then what made you come back?
Well, what happened was I started like thinking in like images again. I started like drawing again and like painting, and I started to think about, there's this image. I want to see like nuns jumping out of airplanes on BMX bikes and like, doing tricks in the clouds and stuff. It was just something like that. It was like, I wasn't really sure like where it came from or what it meant. There was just specific things that I wanted to see. And then I was like, maybe I can, at that point I was like, maybe I could try to make movies again, or maybe I could, So that's kind of how I started writing scripts again.
It reminds me of, in the myth of Orpheus. You know the myth of Orpheus, right?
No, I never heard of it.
Really?
The myths of Orpheus?
Orpheus.
Yeah, Orpheus.
The poet, the Greek poet.
Yeah. The guy that was
his wife dies.
The guy that was in The Matrix.
Goes into hell, Morpheus.
I know.
Okay. So, usually the myth is like he goes to hell
right,
to get his wife back, and they say you can have her back, but you can't turn around to look at her while you're in hell. You got to wait till you get out, right?
Yeah.
And the usuals, and then he looks back before he gets out, and he loses her, right? And everyone's like, "What a dumb fuck."
Yeah.
But
is that in the Bible?
No, it's a Greek myth.
Oh, okay. I never read the Bible.
It's not in the Bible.
All right.
But like Maurice Blanchot, the French writer, has this essay about the myth of Orpheus, where he says, Orpheus is the artist, and he's the guy who has to turn back. He has to turn back to look, because that's what artists do. They look into hell. They look into death, look in the face of death. And the problem with art is if you look too much into the face of death, you die. But if you don't look enough, you have nothing to say, or nothing deep to say. So the artist is he who turns back to look, but does it just in the balanced way that he can still speak, right? He can still say what he saw. And Blanchot is uses Rimbaud actually as an example of like the artist who looks too deeply at the face of death and can't speak anymore. And he tries that gesture. And I think any artist who's really worth their salt has to, I think, grapple with why am I doing this? Why is this important? On some level, it's not. And is it an ego thing? Is it an attachment? How do I navigate the Scylla and Charybdis of that, right? And it seems to me like this film is kind of a little bit about that.
Right. The Rambo?
Orpheus.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Moondog is Orpheus, who's also the poet.
And Rambo.
Yes. And he has to look back at
the way he goes in the jungle and slaughters those dudes. That's the way Moondog, he's like slaughtering life.
Yeah. But you are navigating this, the making of work. You often use this metaphor that often Herzog uses about it's like a film warrior or something, or a soldier for cinema, right? And this idea that cinema is a kind of like a god, or it's a power that we are faithful to, that we bow down to, right? And I feel this too. It's like it's a calling, or it's a religion, right? And like a filmmaker is like a priest or a prophet of this religion of beauty, of this medium that we are all sort of submit to. And yet there's also this need to not be shackled to it, right? Which is the impulse to say, no, I'm not doing it anymore, or I don't have to do this. And it seems to me that your work sort of embodies that ambivalence a lot.
Yeah, I don't really know, I don't really even know if it is how I feel about it anymore.
Your work?
No, just
filmmaking?
Yeah, just everything. I just don't know. I used to feel that, but I don't really know if I feel that anymore.
Right. How would you describe how you feel?
I just don't know.
Now?
I just don't know what it means. I just don't know what it really means anymore. I'm not saying my work, but I'm just saying I used to have that idea that close to what you were saying. I used to, but now I just don't know. It kind of means everything and nothing. I don't know what people really get from it all anymore. Do you know what I'm saying?
But you're making another film after this one, I assume.
Yeah, but I know, it's entertainment. So it's like...
Are you thinking of it as entertainment?
Yeah, I think it's, I used to think maybe it was something more, and that was important. And I'm just not sure anymore. But I just don't know.
Do you feel like this film is entertainment as opposed to what's the opposite of entertainment for you?
Yeah, I wanted to make this film I grew up on Cheech and Chong movies and stuff, and I wanted to make a film that kind of had this I always loved that watching those movies. I just loved how high the films were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and the narrative almost felt like weed smoke. And it also, if you look at them now, it really inhabits this idea of a kind of cosmic America that maybe exists and maybe it doesn't exist. But I wanted the film really to just be that, to be like a comedy, pure.
And because?
Just because I wanted to entertain.
As a gesture of love towards the world?
Yeah, I don't know. I just, I just wanted to laugh.
I remember we talked years ago. I remember a lot of the things that we talked about, actually. But one was, I think we were talking about Don't Look Back, the Dylan film. I was going to make a film about you, like A Day in Your Life. Do you remember this? And we were going to do it at your grandmother's house.
Right. Wow.
And then you were about to go into production on Julian Donkey Boy.
Yeah.
And then I thought, oh, I should just do a day in life of you making Julian Donkey Boy. That's probably
Yeah.
going to be more interesting for film history.
Yeah.
And then Scott McCauley was like, nah, I don't want you filming during the making of that. It's going to like distract harmony or something. And then it got quashed.
Right.
Which I kind of regret because it would be nice to like just capture
Yeah.
a day in your life at that period.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I know.
Dang, bro. What happened?
Well, there was this guy who had money. I had no money.
Right.
Who offered to like, but he wanted to like, he liked you and he wanted to like come
Right.
and shoot it. And I was like, I just didn't want him around. I didn't like him that much.
Right.
So I just was like, I don't want to do that. And then I thought the Junagi Boy thing would happen, and then you disappeared after that.
Bastards. Always lurking.
But I remember we talked about Don't Look Back in relationship to this day in the life thing, and I was kind of trashing it a little bit, and you were saying how much you loved it, and I think at some point you said this, and maybe Dylan says this in the film, but I think you describe yourself as an entertainer.
Yeah.
Which isn't that what also Dylan says in an interview?
Maybe so. You know, but I think it's just trying. You try to make things happen. You know what I mean? Like just trying to entertain the troops. You ever watch Bob Hope?
Yeah.
I mean, that's some good stuff.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like the way he swung a golf club, make 50,000 people crack up one go. I'm just swinging golf clubs, bro.
Is it kind of like that Preston Sturges film, Sullivan's Travels, where he's, that film?
Yeah.
Where at the end he's just like, I just want to make the chain gang people laugh because they have such a hard life.
I don't know. I just more like, with this movie, I'm just trying to entertain.
Did you feel like Spring Breakers was different than that? Or
No,
same
I
impulse?
like that. That's a similar...
And Lonely Hearts? I mean, Mr. Lonely?
Lonely Hearts. Yeah, I mean, that was a little different because I was like coming out of something else and into something. I was like coming out and going into something else. But the last two, like I feel like I'm trying to really roll with that. Like you want people to get like lit and sitting in the theater and just roll with it.
Lit means literally lit?
Yeah.
Or metaphorically lit?
Yeah, like we're pumping weed smoke into the theaters.
Oh, I see.
Like I got we got a couple of theaters now where we got these vents where they're just lighting hash into the atmosphere.
But you don't even smoke pot anymore.
No, I personally don't, but these people all do. And the culture is strong. You know what I mean? Like you got to take it to that level.
Well, what would you call what you were doing with Gummo, for example? You wouldn't call that entertainment.
No, it probably was. It probably was, but I just don't remember. You know what I mean? Like I at that time, I was definitely trying to entertain. I always wanted to entertain. I never was trying to like. I don't have it to try to like educate. I don't really know anything about that.
I mean, education is a word that sounds boring, and offensive.
Right.
But it seems like everyone is always teaching.
Yeah.
Just by their being, right? And it seems that one of the things about your work is like, and there aren't that many filmmakers like this, where like their life and their work seem to be of a piece, right? And this is why Rambo again is like a reference here, because
Rambo is you stick with what's his name? I'm going with Rambo.
But it's like part of the appeal of your work is you and your attitude and your worldview. Like there's a worldview, there's a philosophy, there's a politics.
Yeah. Mostly what I do, I have this like boat in Key Largo.
You do?
Yeah, it's the best boat. It's like it doesn't really go fast. It's just kind of like pretty slow boat.
Is it like a motorboat?
No. It's like it's got a motor on it for sure, but it's not a speedboat.
It's a sailboat?
No, it's not a sailboat.
It's not like that boat at the end of the movie that he's in.
No.
It's like a rowboat.
No. Yeah, that's like a sailboat. No, it's got 3 motors.
Oh,
3 propellers.
you can sleep in this boat.
Yeah, you could sleep in it. And so what I did is I put a carpet down on it and a mattress, and then there's this grocery store in Key Largo. It was going out of business. I bought 4 electronic poker machines. from them. And I hooked it up into, I had this guy named Alberto, who's a friend of mine down there, who works the docks, and he rigged the poker machines up. And then I usually go down, and then I don't know if you like Taco Bell, but I mostly just eat Taco Bell. I get these Crunchwrap Supremes, and then a couple of quarts of Mountain Dew. And then I just go out on there, and if something happens, it's so nice. It's like
you go by yourself?
Yeah, I go by myself. Sometimes I take the kids. It really depends if I'm going to try to write or just hang out. I can fish there too, but I don't know. Something is, I really feel like I just cracked the nut. I discovered like the greatest thing on the planet. So when I eat the Crunch Wraps, drink the Mountain Dew, play the machines out in Key Largo, I can listen to that Christopher Cross dude, you know? You ever listen to Christopher Cross?
He's a musician?
Yeah, he's a musician. Made one really good record I think in the 80s. But then I just like, I'm out there and all those things, and you're like, man, really, that's like the best. That's the best it gets.
Yeah.
I don't really win money against myself, but it's like really fun.
Huh. So you think of yourself as a hedonist, kind of?
No, a hiddenness. I'm more hiddenist.
But you think fun is like the point of life in a way?
Yeah. Well, I think like, I don't know what the point of it is or anything really, but I just think in the end, I think there's just joy. And that recipe right there that I gave you is pure joy. That's why I was like, wanted you to know.
Thank you for the recipe. I'll try that. You have 2 kids, right? And the first one I remember, I met you at the opening of Trash Humpers.
Right.
I mean, we talked in the park for a while.
Right.
And I think you had a daughter at that point.
Right.
Lefty?
Lefty, yeah.
And then you have another kid, right?
Yeah, I have another kid, Hank. He was born while we were
shooting this one.
shooting it, yeah.
So he's like 1 or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I have 2 kids too. How do you feel like that has changed, or has it changed your outlook on film and art and fun?
It's cool. I mean, I got them like a badminton set the other day.
I love badminton.
So they like that, and they
Lefty must be like 5 or something.
Yeah, she's 15.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. She's actually 10.
She's not 10, is she?
Yeah, she's 10.
She's 10?
Yeah.
Wow, time flies.
Yeah. It really does. But like where we live, like manatees float by, and you could just like throw what are those things called? Vegetables.
Vegetables.
You can throw like a vegetable at them. And it's great.
You live in Miami?
Yeah.
And you see manatees?
Yeah, I see manatees in the backyard.
Oh, there's like a river?
No, it's the ocean.
Oh, your backyard is on the ocean?
Yeah, you can, and that's like they love vegetables. So they just come, even the babies are like, a couple of tons.
And you moved there because you liked shooting Spring Breakers there?
Yeah, and I like Cordaditos, this like one place that sells it's a Cuban spot, that puts it in a styrofoam cup in a way that I've never seen before. And then...
I'm sorry, what is this?
It's just a Cuban coffee.
Oh,
basically.
coffee.
Yeah. It's a Cordadito, no sugar. And then they just ramp it up, bro, and you drink it and you're like running around all day. They just put that super ramp in there.
Have you ever read the Wallace Stevens poems about Florida?
Oh, is Florida Days?
Well, there's Florida Days?
Oh, no, that's Jimmy Buffett.
There's the idea of order at Key West.
What happened?
Fablio of Florida.
I love, yes, Key West is great. They have those 6-toed cats. You ever seen those? Hemingway's 6-toed cats.
Hemingway?
His 6-toed cats.
Hemingway had a 6-toed cat?
Lots of them. There's like books about them. They're like part of they're like the treasure there. They like roam the streets.
In Key West?
Yeah, the descendants of his cats, 6
Really?
toes. Yeah. And so like there's sometimes you can, it's pretty trippy. I like to go to the Ripley's Believe It or Not museum there. I go there like a couple times a year. And then you see having the six-toed cat standing in front of Ripley's museum, on Duval Street.
Like live ones.
Yeah, they're just hanging out in front of the Ripley Museum. But it's like it's the best combo. I drink some Mountain Dew. And you can even get like the kind of.
I've never had Mountain Dew. Is it really good?
Yeah, it's good if you put like gummy bears at the bottom. And it just like trips you out. And so then I like.
It seems to me that there are two ways to deal with the the problems of language.
Right.
One is what I would call what you're doing or do often, which is sort of
go surfing.
Yeah, playful fucking with reality and sort of a rejection of the truth quotient of normal discourse.
Right.
The other way is to go the other way, which is kind of the way I usually go, which is complete attempts for complete transparency and directness and honesty.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's the way I. I don't even know. I think we're both on the same page. I don't even. You know what I'm saying? I think it's the same. I think it's the same thing.
Okay.
I think it's the same thing. But no, what I'm saying is, Ripley's. Have you ever been to the Ripley's?
Never.
It's way better than any movie. Like they have sculptures made of hair. Human hair.
Have you been to the one in New York?
Yeah, the one here is good too.
It is?
Yeah, but not the one in Key West is really, really good. I got lifetime passes there from this dentist.
Because he liked your films?
Yeah, he's like a kind of really known dentist down there. And so I just go down there, rent a golf cart. And you could just drive around the streets and just go into Ripley's, hang out with the six-toed cat.
You can drive around streets in a golf cart?
Yep.
And you do that?
All the time. Ride through the graveyards down there.
What about parenting? Parenting is like a often fraught thing with responsibilities and stuff.
Yeah, it is.
How do you deal with it?
Dude, it's trippy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's trippy as hell. I think you just like roll with it, I mean, luckily my wife is so good. And like, she's like really great. And so I just take her lead. Because like, I don't know. Have you ever read a book about it?
I have.
Well, I never have. I never. I read a paragraph on a pamphlet once. I felt good to go. But I mostly just follow the lead.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then like, cartoons are really good. So if you, I think, watch like 4 or 5 hours of cartoons if you break it up in the course of a day, it's awesome.
You like cartoons?
Yeah, cartoons are good for the kids.
Yeah, I show my kids.
I grew up, I had a satellite dish.
How's your dad doing?
Good. They live in the jungle.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I remember years ago, around this period, you were doing a screening and anthology of your dad's films.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to go to that, and I was leaving town like the next day, and I ended up not being able to make it.
Yeah. I just had there's like a retrospective thing at the Pompidou in Paris, and like we showed them. It was nice.
Oh, cool.
We showed all of those. It was cool to see them. There's some really interesting ones. Kids are riding like bulls and, moonshiners. They made some great ones.
Are you still in touch with Will Oldham?
Yeah, I just saw him last night.
You did?
He's here.
He's here?
Yeah. I just saw him.
Cool.
Yeah, I saw him. He's good.
Okay. Questions? I mean, like, Dylan has this thing where, like, if you ask him a question, he'll kind of, like, fuck with you.
Right.
Right? And it seems to me, I mean, at least historically, you've always been in that same lineage.
You know what's cool about him is he plays a lot of shows in, like, baseball fields.
Yeah?
Minor leagues.
Yeah? And what's good about that?
Well, you ever watch a baseball minor league?
No.
Me neither. But I just like the field. No, it's cool. You get hot dogs and stuff hanging out, but I think that's like I was reading about that.
Well, okay, here's my question. I feel really close to you aesthetically.
Yeah.
I mean, my stuff's very different than yours, but like, I feel like I appreciate what you're doing, and I have a affection for what you're doing, and also I think there's a spiritual quest in there that I think is important.
Yeah.
And I think they're linked.
Yeah, I remember watching the thing with your dad. I was like, whoa, that blew me away. Uh-huh. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I was just so trippy. You did that with your pop.
Thanks. You should watch the new one. The new one is better.
I will. I barely watch anything anymore, but I would love to watch if I could see it. I would love it.
Yeah, I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
But why don't you watch stuff anymore so much? Is it because like things seem like pointless?
I just can't put my finger on it. I still do watch things, but like I don't really know what it is. Like nothing seems that like interesting to me. I don't know if it's just like at some point it's like there's like a peak saturation. You know, where it's just like it's difficult. You know, and then other things I just kind of enjoy, just like try to just living life, you know, or just doing things that aren't that. I can't put my finger on it. I still have moments, I think, where I see things. Sometimes it's just like a clip or something on the internet or whatever, but I still do have moments where I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty great. But I don't know what it is. It's not the same for me.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like there was a period when everything seemed like important because it was salvational on some level. Like, you know, like it was like like believing in God, and then you're like, oh, this is just smoke and mirrors or something. Like, and where the ambition thing like doesn't do it for you anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing because it's like it was an illusion to begin with that cinema was ever a god.
Yeah, or maybe just believe in God.
Yeah. And just, But so I think there's something healthy about that. And again, back to the Rambo thing, it seems like that struggle, for me, I experience it as despair. Like the old gods don't do it for me anymore. And I haven't found like the joy of just living. And so I'm still trying to like find like some pathway between those two. But it seems like you found like joy.
Well, I just mostly just trip out and I drink that Gatorade. I mean, I do
Mountain
drink
Dew?
Gatorade, but I drink Mountain Dew, and you can sip it through a baby bottle. You get super like joy. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's all it takes. You know what I mean? Like
Do you really sip Mountain Dew through a baby bottle?
Put a couple of Jolly Ranchers at the bottom, let them melt, but I don't put any, hydrocodone in there. You know, because that's traditionally how you drink it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's basically like you sip lean, but I hold the actual syrup. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Really? You guys know what he's talking about? Okay.
You know what I mean? Right?
Okay, everyone's nodding. Okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. It's a drug thing? Codeine? More nodding. Okay. Cool.
So, how's everything else in life?
Well, I got divorced recently.
Whoa.
That's hard.
What was that like? Did they come after you?
Who?
The women?
There's just one.
Wait, someone said you only have one?
I'm only married to one person.
Oh, okay.
At a
It
time.
wasn't a double banger?
No.
All right. Because some of those double bangers are crazy.
Meaning like an affair?
Well, you said that.
Okay.
But what happened? They came after your wallet?
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
And the children, like there's a lot of stuff in there that's hard. But the show that I've been doing is called A Show About the Show. The premise is every episode is about the making of the previous episode.
Right.
And so it was just about what was happening during the making of the film.
Right.
And then everything that's happening around it. And so there was things with the actress and then my wife. And so the whole breakup is on the show. Like the show documents.
Is it more of a comedy or a horror film?
It's a funny tragedy.
Oh, so you're right in the middle.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, right in the middle.
So is that good?
It's good artistically. I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't been like a joyride.
Right. The whole thing is right. That's not fun.
Yeah.
But did the kid turn out okay?
My 2 kids?
They're both there
Yeah.
and they're okay.
In the show?
No, with your wife?
They're okay. My kids
But
are good.
they're with the
well,
wife?
we share them.
Oh, okay, 50-50.
60-40.
All right. Which one did you get?
I got 40.
Oh, that's
Short
better.
end of the
That's
straw.
better than nothing.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But so in the end, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, I think everything is always for the best in the end, right?
I don't know. Ask Rambo.
Maybe not suicide.
Wait, he killed himself?
No. I'm not sure the suicide is always for the best in the end.
What the hell? Sue killed himself. Bro, you're freaking me out.
Do you like Joseph Cornell?
The artist?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
He used to like Ripley's Believe It or Not a lot. He used to go there.
Yeah, I mean, Ripley is the best. Like for me, Ripley might be the best artist. Even his drawings were so good. Like Ripley really might be the best.
Ripley did art?
Yeah, you never looked at a cartoon? That's how he started.
No.
Yeah.
Ripley's Believe It or Not was a cartoonist?
Yeah. Ripley's Believe It or Not. It's best the best. Yeah, of course.
Okay, I'll check it out.
Yeah, Ripley.
I'm going to look for it.
That's about as good as it gets. That's some serious entertainment.
What period?
Periods?
What period was Ripley
Matt.
a cartoonist in?
I think it was the, probably the 30s, 40s.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because he used to travel to all those places. He'd find like a 4-headed camel. He'd draw it.
Oh.
And then put a caption under it. And he'd be like, dude in the Sahara on a 4-headed camel. Believe it or not.
Do you guys believe what he's saying? I've seen it. Yeah.
No, I mean, it's not like it's an obscure thing. I read them to my kids at night. They're the best.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. You think I'm jiving, bro?
Yeah, I did.
Come on, man.
You want to put a bow on this?
Yeah, man, put your bow on. Wrap it up, snort it down, lick it, slurp it, dance with it, put a bow around it.
Okay, that's your bow.
We love it.
My bow is, it was really nice talking to you again.
Same here, man.
You say Rimbo, I say Rambo. Let's call the whole thing off.
Yeah, but maybe let's just listen to that episode again, because I think I will never not be entertained.
Loved it so much. Caveh, Harmony, thank you so much for joining us here on the Talkhouse podcast. And Nick, if I may congratulate you on a fantastic pairing. I just enjoyed this so much.
Thank you. And of course, go see The Beach Bum in theaters. And if you need to catch up a little bit on your Caveh Zahedi, go get a copy of Digging My Own Grave, the films of Caveh Zahedi, out through our friends at Factory 25. It is well worth your $1. This episode was recorded by, you, Elia Einhorn. Good job.
Thanks, I try. Our producer is Mark Yoshizumi, and Nick, you and I were recorded by Mark here at Hook and Fade Studios in Brooklyn. Nick, I got some great pictures of the guys in conversation and also leaning, looking cool against a brick wall that we're going to put on all socials. That's at Talkhouse across the board.
Twitter, Instagram, Friendster, Bebo, MySpace, all the hits.
Now, Nick, Caveh has written a number of pieces for the site.
He's written about Abbas Kiarostami, about Robert Bresson, about David Bowie, and about Lars von Trier's Nymphomaniac. He's been busy.
The Talkhouse podcast theme song was composed and performed by The Range. Subscribe to the Talkhouse podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, wherever else fine podcasts are served. And I also want to give a shout to our events tab at talkhouse.com because we have some cool things coming up, including, if you live in the New York area, a pretty neat event happening at Rough Trade NYC. Head on over to talkhouse.com for all those details. Until next week, I'm Elia Einhorn, and I'll be out on a boat with a bunch of slot machines and some Mountain Dew with Jolly Ranchers. No lean, though. No lean.
Okay. And I'm Nick Dawson, and I'll bring the Crunchwrap Supremes from Taco Bell. It will be perfect.
This is Harmony Korine. You're listening to Talkhouse Podcast.
That was good. There was no sense of like shilling in that at all. It's a hard thing to do.